who were immediate victims and those who were residual victims since then.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Eaton,
Here.
Ms. Omboski,
Present.
Mr. Johnson,
Present.
Mr. Prendergast.
Here.
Mr. Halderman, Ms. Tosti Vasey,
Here.
Ms. Cleaton,
Here.
Mr. Brackville,
Here.
Ms. Abbott,
Here.
Mayor Wilson.
Virtually here.
Thank you.
Thank
Smoke
you.
to the top.
So the first thing we need to do is talk about a new law that came into effect on September 1st. Ralph, you want to take care of that? real quick?
Sure. It's called Act 65 of 2021. It's requirements for municipalities to post their agenda, and also during the meeting, any matters of agency businesses to be listed on the agenda prior to action. So ideally, in the best case scenario, the agenda that's posted Friday has all the action items on it. However, the act does allow an amended agenda early in the meeting, so that if items can be added that come in, such as correspondence or emergency action items, they can be added to the agenda by majority vote. So we are rearranging things a little bit. We're going to take any oral comments or public comments on any action items on the agenda as it's been advertised, prior to doing any going over the written correspondence in case someone wants to speak to something that's on the agenda before council takes action. So I think that's just in a nutshell the main change. We'll keep this line item on the agenda for pretty much going forward at all of our council meetings, that council could take the action to add an agency business item to the agenda if necessary.
Okay. So now that we've done that, we're going back and approve the minutes, since that is a motion to approve. We have a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make the motion, Brackville.
I'll second the motion, Eaton.
Prendergast and Eaton.
No, Brackville.
Huh?
Said Prendergast.
Oh, I meant Brackville, sorry. You're mostly on the other side of the room.
I said.
Thank you. Any changes? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? So moved. Okay, then we moved additions to the council meeting agenda. So the first thing we're doing this evening is flipping the public comments with the written communications. And down under Parks and Rec, there will be 3 motions we will be considering this evening. They're in the Melissa's report and here at the table. One is on Elks Club soccer event. The second one is the Bellefonte Moose rubber duck race. And the third one is the Center Point Church request is at the table this evening. So moving on to the consent agenda. We have a motion to accept.
I'll make that motion.
Prendergast?
I'll second it.
Prendergast and Clayton. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? So moved. Moving on to public comment. For those in the audience, and is there anybody on Zoom that's logged in that's not part of council? Okay. So anybody in the audience, if you want to speak on something on the agenda, now is the time. Please come up to the podium. If it's something not on the agenda, it's at the end of the meeting. Please give your name, address, and which item you're going to be talking about.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Tim Manis. I live at 302 East Curtin Street, and the agenda item is on my last printed page. The review ongoing for regulating plantings in the right-of-way. I don't think you're taking any action or maybe even discussing that tonight, and I'm guessing that's probably in a committee discussion that you're having that. Okay, if I could just make a couple of comments. We've had some interaction recently with Harry, who is here on this topic, and I appreciate him being here and his back and forth. Obviously, he is the code enforcement officer. I didn't start my timer. Sorry, here it is. And this body needs to really consider the issues at hand. So I would just like to make a couple of comments. And what I'm specifically asking is that you consider keeping the exception for ornamental plantings in that code, or at least it was in there a little while ago. Maybe you've taken it out now. And so I'll tell you why I'm asking that. First of all, I believe 6 inches is really just an arbitrary number in terms of the planting height. As a landscape architect, there are a lot of plants that are useful out in that planting strip that are higher than 6 inches that we might like to make use of. And if that is strictly enforced, then I believe that there are a couple of places in the borough itself, downtown, that would have to be, plantings would have to be eliminated, such as the Diamond, for one, which is a notable, beautiful planting that the Garden Club takes care of every year, and it's higher than 6 inches. And also the curb bump out planters at Allegheny and Cherry Lane, which were planted obviously with the sidewalk project. Those shrubs are higher than 6 inches, and that would have to be done away with in terms of keeping that ornamental planting below 6 inches. More importantly, I think we should be very careful in discouraging residents who want to spend their time and money beautifying that part of the somewhat useless landscape along the right-of-ways. There are very attractive examples of green strip plantings between the sidewalk and curb that have been beautified by residents, and these would have to be removed if the intent of the ordinance is shade trees, grass only. Examples can be seen at the corner of East Lamb and North Allegheny, the property at the corner of West Curtin and North Locust Lane. All of these are very close by. The properties at the corners of East Lynn and Ridge and East Lamb and Ridge. Several of the plantings along East Church Lane, such as Mrs. Burke's home at the rear of 440 North Monroe. And on the other hand, there's many examples of unattractive strips between the sidewalk and curb consisting of weedy lawn and rocks. Probably meets the code technically, but it's very unattractive. And that can be seen on East Lamb Street also. And one more thing in my last 37 seconds. There are a lot of steep areas between the streets and the sidewalks. You can see that right up here at the elementary school, especially on Lamb Street. We, as a company, would never recommend lawn in those areas because it's really not safe to try to mow it. And it's just not helpful to have lawn in there. Some other planting would be much more appropriate. Finally, I don't believe efforts to replace lawn with well-maintained ornamental planting should be discouraged by the borough. PADEP, among others, is urging the conversion of lawn to more native and natural types of landscape. There we go. Lawn contributes to runoff, requires fossil fuel-powered equipment to maintain, and is a water hog. In other words, converting some of the examples I've shared would require even more water, more mowing, and would not look any better. And I would just ask you to consider that as you're going through the conversations for that particular code. Thank you very much.
Before we move on?
I'd just like to say, I already stated my opposition to that same thing that he's talking about, and I would hope we'd reconsider that sometime here and look at that again, because I still think it beautifies the residential areas where people are doing nice, colorful planting, so that's all. Thank you.
Mr. Morris, you're all right. This is still under committee review. Would you, with your expertise as a landscape architect, would you be willing to meet with the streets committee to help us figure out how to do a compromise?
Sure, I think that'd be great. And even a walk around town would be fun. So we could do something like that. Ralph and Don both have my contacts. So.
Thank you. Anybody else has, huh?
Does Mr. Andrews want to say anything? Okay. Okay.
Okay, if there's no other public comment at this point, we'll move on to written communications.
Okay, the first one is listed as a Watermark Church requesting to hang a banner on the Veterans Bridge between September 19th, or September 19th is the event. The banner would be on display from September 12th through the 19th. Looking for council approval.
Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve Watermark Church request.
Second.
Okay, Brackbill and Prendergast. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? So moved.
Next item is called Reimagine Appalachia, Appalachian Climate Infrastructure Plan. This is something a council can consider supporting. You can do it as a governing body, collectively or individually. There is a draft resolution, which I believe we're going to change the number of the resolution to today's date and then -03. It's there for your consideration.
Do we have a motion to sign on and pass this associated resolution, Resolution 2021 0907-03, to support Reimagine Appalachia and support a federal Appalachian climate infrastructure plan?
Can I ask a question before you make a motion to approve or
We
disapprove?
have to make the motion and then we can do it.
Yeah. I'll make the motion.
Okay? I'll second it. Prendergast and Clayton. Okay, go ahead.
I'm not sure why we're being asked to pass this resolution. I looked this online today a little bit, and I can't really see what it's gonna do for Bellefonte, or how this is gonna help Bellefonte residents. I looked at I have a list here of current endorsers. I don't see any boroughs or any townships or any counties actually endorsing this Appalachia. If you look at what it's about, to me, it's about southwestern Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh, Ohio, Kentucky, and Virginia, West Virginia, helping coal miners. And since we're not really part of that area, I don't understand why we're endorsing this, I guess. And I don't know where it came from. Is this something
I
that
think-
resident brought up, or where did this come from?
I think it's a little more of a regional thing.
I understand.
From what I read was, even if you're not in the Appalachian area,
So this is a-
supposed to,
Yeah, this is a climate action thing dealing with the federal government's infrastructure program, and basically is trying to get both the nonprofits and governmental entities to sign on to saying that we think this is a good idea, that it may help our communities. If you go into the handout thing that you're here at your table that was sent out this afternoon.
Yeah, I just, I need more time to look through this. We
No.
got it today,
Yeah.
and you want us to approve it?
We
I
we
can't
can,
do that.
we could, if you want, table this. It's
I
not,
read 2
it's not
pages of it.
urgent.
No, I don't think so, and I sort of agree with Mr. Holloman. I don't know how it applies to us
Yeah.
here,
So
and
if
it's
you all
gonna spend
want-
some time to read through this.
Right. We can do that. We just need a motion to table until,
Before you do that, I want to say that this is the worst piece of resolution I've ever read in my life. It's ridiculous.
the
It
resolution.
throws everything in there, from prisoners to economics to environmental. It's all over the place. And
Yeah.
I don't see the purpose in it. I don't even know how you would even
Where
monitor.
did it come from?
And-
All of a
and-
sudden, it appears in our packet.
it came from it was sent to Ralph and to me with a request to put it
Was it
on the-
solicited?
No, it was not solicited.
Is it something that the Energy and Environment Committee can look at and decide and see if they recommend the,
Yes,
Or
we could do
taking-
that. We could do that.
do you need a motion to do that?
Yeah, we need.
All right, I would
We
like
already
to
have
make a
we
motion to
already
have
a
the,
motion.
Yeah, what
Energy
you
and
do
Environment
is make a
Committee.
substitute motion to send it to Environment and Sustainability.
It doesn't have to be the term, I think.
Table?
No, not tabled, but amended.
If you're changing the complete intent of a motion, it's a substitute motion. If you're just tweaking the motion, then it's an amendment to the
I
motion.
think it's worthless to go any more with this. It's a ridiculous piece of paper.
I have to agree.
And I would just as soon vote it down tonight and be done with it.
Right.
Because this is too much.
Keep tabling and passing it to committees on
Okay.
something like this. That doesn't make a lot of sense at this time.
Of the body? Is
What?
that the sense of to go ahead and vote this evening and not take it to committee?
I take it to committee as a committee member of that committee. It doesn't bother me any.
For me.
So, Mary is making a motion to move it. Do we have a second? If we don't have a second, we'll go to a vote.
I'll second.
Okay.
So again, if I may, even if it goes back to committee, what are you going to change on it? It's a resolution that everybody else apparently is supposed to sign. So what changes could you possibly make to it?
You don't have to sign it, you can do it individually if you want.
Well, that's fine. Let the individuals do it, but we don't have to do it as a council and throw Bellefonte into it.
Can they, I mean, I just thought that maybe the committee could take a look at it and see if it's something that they felt like it's worth bringing back to the council, and if so, then they would be able to say, we think that this is worth bringing to council, and these are the reasons why. It seems like that's what the committee is there to do, to take a deeper look into these things.
I spent at least an hour this morning researching this a little bit and reading comments from all over it. I just don't see how it applies to Bellefonte and Bellefonte citizens, because like I said, the main reason that they grouped together was to help the miners, the union miners in southwestern Pennsylvania and those 3 states. And really, it doesn't affect us in central Pennsylvania. I didn't know I was in Appalachia, I guess, for today. But anyway, I didn't feel that our borough should be like the first one in the state to have this resolution when we don't know much about it. At least apparently most members don't know much about it yet.
Can we just vote on it so we can stop talking about it?
Well, I want to add too, that, we already have done economic plans for the state and the county. And I don't know how many more plans that we can do, because we're barely keeping up with the 2 plans we already have. We've had little discussion on either one of those.
Any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor of moving to the Environment and Sustainability Committee, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Aye.
Do a roll call vote.
Mr. Eaton,
Aye.
Ms. Zambowski,
Aye.
Mr. Johnson,
No.
Mr. Prendergast,
Aye.
Mr. Halderman,
No.
Ms. Tostevesi,
Yes.
Ms. Cleaton,
No.
Mr. Backhill,
No.
Ms. Abbott,
Yes.
Ms.
5-4.
yes.
So it will move to Environment and Sustainability for their recommendation to come back. Okay, moving on.
The next item is the League of Women Voters of Center County requesting to hang banners on the ornamental light posts in the downtown area. It's a little bit more or a little bit different of a request than just hanging banners across the street or what have you. So we're looking at having council consider moving this either to HARB to look at, or one of the standing committees, or possibly a planning commission.
Okay. We don't have a standing policy on banner placements on light poles. Currently, we only allow HBI to place the hometown banners there. This is the second type of request that we've had for banners from a nonprofit. I'd like to refer this to HARB, as they're the agency that is dealing with signage in the historic district, to recommend a policy on hanging nonprofit banners on light posts through the borough. Once they give us their ideas, then move it over to the Streets Committee for final review before recommendation on the policy, and then address this specific request back to council.
I'd like to answer, there's a cost to the borough to install these and take
There-
them down, right?
Labor, yes, labor and equipment,
I think we should look at that,
yes.
how
That's-
much it's gonna cost us to do that.
That's part of the the review process.
Is there any reason why this has to go to Harb and it just can't go to streets?
Well, CARB is currently working on the signage ordinance, and one of the things they could look at is, is there anything in the signage ordinance at this point that covers this? If not, they could make a recommendation to streets to say what it is that we need to change, and then have streets do it.
Okay.
Yes, go ahead.
I don't know that, I just wanted some clarification. You want Harb to create a policy or just sort of advise how to go about the placement of banners in the historic district for nonprofits? The second, okay. I think that's reasonable, and that's certainly something that they could advise on, and then we could just let the streets committee know, and then streets can carry on. Harb is meeting next Tuesday, so the only reason why I'm kind of like hesitating is I don't know if this request is timely, and okay.
Because the letter came out and said that they weren't expecting a decision before the election this year.
Okay. Well then, yeah, so Harb meets next Tuesday, so I can just present this to them and get a recommendation to give to the streets committee, if that seems fine. Okay. Yep.
Question on that. How will this affect the Hometown Heroes banners?
That has to be looked at.
That's part of it.
So we're going to go with
I think they're supposed to hang underneath.
election paraphernalia instead of our heroes. Is that,
No,
because something would have to come off the pole.
Their suggestion, and if you read the detail, was not to remove the current banners, but they would purchase additional drop-down poles to hang small banners underneath the regular banners.
What I saw wasn't a small banner, it was pretty long.
I think that one above it was not their
It
banner.
wasn't
I
their
think that
banner.
was just the registered voter.
Well, it was a flag, and then it had
Yeah, but I don't
voting
think the
things on the
flag
bottom
was,
of it.
I
So what I
don't
saw.
think the flag was part of their presentation. It may have been, I don't know.
Yeah.
I took it to be the 2-inch by like
Yeah, that's what I thought,
6-inch.
But it was attached,
Yeah.
to that flag, is what I read on it.
Yeah, the attachments in the bottom were what I was assuming they were talking about.
So the flag also
So
becomes a
when we have
banner.
this
No,
discussion,
I don't-
At that
please
point.
get them in here to give us more information.
Sure.
Move on?
Okay. Next item, Center County Airport Authority, along with Center County government, the county commissioners, have a financial request. They're looking at trying to create a pool of incentive money to create additional flights into the area from Atlanta or vice versa. And I would think we have a note here that this may be referred to the Finance Committee of Council. I don't know if Mr. Johnson wants to
I
add
agree.
anything.
I think that's
Yeah.
excellent. Do you need any history
Do I
on
just
that?
think for the public's purpose, can
Sure,
you give a background on what this is all about, though?
Sure. Myself and Mr. Stewart are on the Airport Authority, and to attract other airlines to the State College University Park Airport, sometimes we had to create an incentive. And this is, the Airport Authority has reached out to all the surrounding municipalities and townships that are represented by the airport, asking for a contribution. And that contribution also will be matched, or there will be a contribution by Center County government. So based on, I'm not sure if it's population or what, they're asking for funds to help support attracting a new flight. Specifically right now it's to Charlotte from State College Airport.
With American
So
Airlines.
this would be incentive money to attract that flight, which would help tremendously with travel through University Park, State College Airport. Ralph, would you like to add anything to that?
I think you covered it very well, yes.
All right. Anything else, Madam
Yeah,
President?
in addition to that, I talked to Mike Pike last
Sure.
week, and he said one of the reasons that they're requesting the municipalities to do this, and he was suggesting maybe $1,000 for Bellefonte.
Yeah,
So
1,000 to 1,500, I think.
Right,
or-
exactly. But he said that the Williamsport Airport is shutting down. And by providing this incentive, they'll be able to do some advertising to the Williamsport area to ask people to come here to fly to provide more economic development for our community versus them going all the way down to Harrisburg.
We have been trying to attract this destination from University Park for several years, and this looks like an opportunity to make it happen, so that's another reason. Yes.
So we'll refer this to finance and then bring it back at the next meeting? Randy?
I just had a question on the finances. Does this money have to go out through this year's budget or next year's budget?
No, I can't recall, was it,
I don't know.
it's not until next year, I believe. I don't recall.
Yeah, we need to find that out.
Absolutely. I think it's in the letter.
I believe it is, but I think we're
And
looking
I
at,
have
for
a
us,
copy
we'd be
of
looking
that.
at 2022.
Let me look for it. Bless you.
Okay.
I have that somewhere, Joanne.
That's all right.
I don't want to hold you up.
Okay.
When I find it, I'll shout it out.
That sounds good.
Keep going.
Keep going.
Next item, Center County Government's Booking Center at the correctional facility has a funding agreement with the borough. And way back when the agreement was created, we, the borough, committed to helping with any gaps in funding. And they have a gap in 2021 that's showing right now. And in 2022, it's expected to be larger. So we got a notice in March of this year about this potential gap, and then we just received a new notice about 2022. So we're suggesting this be again turned over to the Finance Committee to take a look at.
So we'll refer to finance. And what the finance committee needs to do is to look if there's funds for 2021 to pay the gap for this year, probably out of the police budget. And then next year, putting it in for 2022. So it's a two-part recommendation, correct?
Madam President, the funds would only be spent if American Airlines commits to flights. If they decline, Bellefonte Borough would not be on the hook for any funds. I don't see it. In terms of timeline, the CCAA is meeting with American on Wednesday, September 22nd, to present them with full incentive package.
So we
So
do
that
need to-
might mean we need to do something this evening.
Oh, no, we have another
Oh,
meeting between
okay.
now and then.
So I guess by next meeting.
Yeah.
You agree, Ralph?
Yes.
Okay.
I have a question on the other. Excuse me,
Friday,
we're on
September
now.
17th, George, is when they would like a reply. Sorry, buddy.
That's okay. But on the question we're talking about now, do we get a copy of their budget up there?
No, not normally, but we could get a copy.
Well, my question is, if their prosecutions are down over 1,000 a year, is what
That's
projected.
wrong. We're not on that, we're on that airport.
No, we
No,
went to
we're
the
not. We're on
booking
this.
center.
We went to the
Yeah.
booking center, where he's right, he
Oh,
popped in.
sorry.
because-
Yeah, that's all right. Anyway,
Sorry, Mike.
I'm
I
looking
got
at,
lost.
it's down 1,000 prosecutions from last year, and next year it's going down a couple, about the same. Have they looked at cutting back on their budget? Or they
I think Chief Weaver is going to look into getting some details. Yes.
The numbers that you have, I'm pretty sure that they are just the prosecutions that they booked. When COVID hit, I know for 20 and 21, a lot of 21, they have not been booking our, short of a felony. Back last year, they wouldn't book at all. Very, very seldom would they book for us. We've been refused several times. So that was their policy. I don't know who set their policy, but I think it's worth examining a few things. You know, if the borough managers and township managers, I'm sure, are going to probably put their heads together and talk. Maybe there's some other alternative funding measures, maybe some of the state money that was given to the county that they spread out. I don't know if that's could be used, but what I can do is I can, for the finance committee, I can put a little memo together on, you know, what we get out of it, what it does, and, you know, for safety concerns, and takes the officer, if we didn't have it, there's a bunch of, you know, benefits to it that one doesn't see usually on the outside. So I can put that together for when's the next finance committee? 14th. Okay, I'll put a packet together and share it with you. Okay.
No, they don't need it, that's the other one.
We're good.
Forget it. Forget it.
Sorry, Joanne,
That's
to
right.
confuse you.
That's right.
Did you say that they declined bookings for us and they still
Well-
want this much money?
I don't know if those numbers are actually, they say prosecutions, but they were the prosecutions that were booked. We arrested a lot more people in 2021 that's showing.
This says if the anticipated revenue of 212,000 would leave a shortfall of 110, do they expect us to pay for that?
The whole
The whole area?
The whole area. Just the municipalities that have police departments. I know the state police use the booking center, but they don't pay. They haven't paid from the start of it. So.
Good to go?
Oh, yes, we're good to go.
Okay. Next item is about annual EMS or Bellefonte Emergency Medical Services joint meeting. Took place in late August. There's some follow-up information that we received from their executive director, and we're suggesting that information go to the finance. Obviously, we're getting geared up for preparing the 2022 budget. There is a requested increase in the borough's funding of emergency medical services.
So that's a 2022 budget item.
And just to throw another, they're asking for a 5% increase, a 0.5% increase.
I'm sorry, Randy, I didn't hear what you said.
The EMS, they're requesting a 0.5% increase in what we
So
give
we're
them
currently
now.
doing 0.25 mils, they want to 0.75 mils?
A half, they want to go from a quarter to a half.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
I can't bring that up for whatever reason to look at that again, but I did get a quick look at it the other day. And what they're requesting for the municipalities and what they're giving is a big gap there that I see. And what made me feel bad is that those people out there trying to save lives are getting $11 an hour, and somebody cheats is making $15 an hour and can't break a $20 bill for you. I think we ought to somehow talk to the other municipalities or send them a letter, get them to increase that money to those people, because those people deserve the money. If you talk about people that put their lives out every day, saving other people's lives, and we're paying $11 an hour, I really feel bad.
Well,
Yeah.
put Bellefonte on the list because Milesburg's the only one who has paid their full amount, their full fair share. The
Yeah, I
last
saw-
2 years that
I
we've
looked at
done.
I saw, but a lot of them, Spring Township and the rest of them, maybe $30,000 or $40,000, and they give $5. That's
Yeah.
not right.
Right.
We should at least embarrass those people to give them more money or something for the EMS out there.
I don't know if they're embarrassable.
I know that.
Well, they go back to what they support in their area. They have their own EMS, they have their own fire department, things like that, so that's where some of that money goes. I mean, neither Spring or Venner are they're doing anything like we've
Yeah,
done
I know.
with the
I know
towns.
we're doing better than the rest, but I wish the rest would pick up some of this slack.
That would help.
Okay, next item, there's a request from an employee at the Center County Government to install a painted crosswalk near the courthouse annex over to the courthouse property. As many of you know, we've dealt with this off and on, a raised crosswalk, some kind of crosswalk. A couple years ago, we met with the LTAP representative and looked at this. we're recommending it goes back to streets, to look at what the conditions were and some of the recommendations before responding.
Yeah, I have to agree with Ralph. I believe we already approved this several years ago when the county added the new side entrance to the courthouse annex. But I think if we can go back through our records and have that for the streets committee, we can then look at it and then make a recommendation.
And that just makes the whole street a crosswalk.
Yeah, we talked about that back when I was still on council, and they wanted a raised
Yeah.
Yes.
bed there but we thought about even plowing snow and stuff, that's gonna be tough, and keeping the walk clean, and it was more a hazard than it was a help other than designating where they're gonna cross. That crosswalk there painted sounds like a better idea than putting some raised in there.
All right, that'll go to the streets. Next item, just so everybody's aware, maybe you saw it on the news, but Center County government moved the COVID testing location to the former Sears Automotive building by the Nittany Mall Shopping Center, the standalone building that's there. It's just an FYI, there's no council action requested.
Okay, so that's, for the public, that's going to be available Tuesdays through Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Through October 31st.
Then an item that came in today, it's at the table, is a request for use of Talleyrand Park for a picnic. It's a public picnic sponsored by Center Point Church. We're looking at using the park on September 18th, 2021 from 10:30 a.m. to 2 p.m.
I'd like to refer this to Parks and Rec with a motion from council for the Parks and Rec to completely accept or reject this request because this event occurs before our next meeting. So do I have a motion to that effect?
I'll make the motion.
Johnson,
I'll second it.
Johnson, Prendergast. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? So moved.
Madam President?
Yeah.
May I, just back to the airport? if I may?
Okay.
But one of your statements was slightly skewed. Williamsport is still in business, the airport.
Right.
It's just that they're decreasing activity, so.
Oh, okay. That wasn't what I was told, but okay.
Yeah, so they're not, to the best of my knowledge, they're just losing some air service. They're not,
Okay, that wasn't what I was told, but fully understand.
okay.
Parks and Rec. Final decision. Okay, moving on.
That's all we have under written communications.
Under Office of Community Affairs,
I don't believe we have anything to report. I know Ms. Thompson is here if you would happen to have any questions, but there's no official action on any planning documents or HARB documents. Those are taken care of in the consent agenda. And the next meeting is the code report.
okay. So you have anything, Gina?
I just wanted to find out if you guys had any questions for the short-term rental ordinance committee meeting. I saw that was on old business, and I just thought if you had questions that I could answer them now. And I can give you a bit of information too.
Why don't you give us a quick summary? I know you have a note in your memo.
Right, yeah. So I put a note in your memo kind of with the timeline and what we've been doing with the short-term rental ordinance. So I met with strategic consulting partners on the 26th, Monica and Bob. And so our first meeting with the committee will be virtual. It'll be just an introductory meeting, and that will be on September 16th. And we'll kind of go over just the ground rules for the meeting and the expectations. And then they have some follow-up. They're going to do a survey for them. And then the in-person meeting where the committee will actually meet to discuss the ordinance and modifications that they want to make to the ordinance to present to council will be the either the first or second week of October, we'll send out a doodle poll to the committee to see what works best for them with a couple of times. And then the goal then after that is to have a report to you guys for October 15th or whatever the meeting date. I think it's October 15th or 16th. So that's just the timeline for that committee. I know some people were inquiring, some public were inquiring about why it's been taking so long, and you know, it's just trying to get organized, and so yeah. Any questions? Yeah.
Once it comes back to council, then we either approve it or we send it back to your committee?
Hopefully, it will be, well, I think I don't know that the committee's exactly redrafting the ordinance. I think what they're going to do, and Ralph and I can work together on this, but my understanding is that they're gonna make recommendations for how to modify the ordinance as it's written, and then council will either accept or reject those modifications, or accept some of them and reject others. I assume you guys might have a work session about that. So.
I agree 100%. You know, the group is not going to take any official action other than make some recommendations and give it back to council.
Would it also be going?
Public comment?
I'm sorry?
It goes out to public comment?
That's up to council. The stakeholder has a kind of a mission. It's to look at the draft ordinance, come up with some recommendations, changes, whatever, and bring it back to council. After that, council can take it off the table, you know, have a public meeting, do whatever. It's up to you after
Could
that.
send it back to planning commission.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's our duty to send it, to have a public meeting.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
It's an ordinance.
Yes, it has some zoning aspects to it, which triggers a mandatory public hearing.
Okay.
Sometimes ordinances, it's optional to have a public hearing, but council decided, well, it has to have it because it has some zoning changes in it. So if it continues to go forward, you'd have to have a public hearing.
That's sort of the task why we created this committee, to bring us recommendations.
Yes.
Does that answer your question? I think they're right on, spot on what they're doing. So we don't look at them.
People who have emailed or called me inquiring about the short-term rental ordinance, I've given them the list of the committee members on the stakeholder committee and encouraged them to reach out to them. And also, they're welcome to share their thoughts with me as well, and I make note of those to also share with the short-term rental committee. But I have been encouraging the public to reach out to committee members to give their thoughts to the committee members to bring back to the stakeholder meeting that will be happening in October, so that everyone's voices are heard, and we can hopefully come to some agreement on modifications to the ordinance.
I looked at the list of state members, and it looked very balanced to me. I think you did a very nice job of that, Gina. So, thanks for doing that.
I would agree. And I'm really excited to be working with Monica and Bob on this. They're great, and they have really a solid foundation for doing this as a profession, and I feel very confident that both these meetings will go really well, and we'll have something to present to council for you all to mull over.
Will they be doing the presentation at our workshop, or will you?
I can invite them. Right now, the way that the project outline is written is that I will present the finalized report to council, but they may want to. I can invite them if they would like to come. We didn't really get into the specific details of who would present it to council. They wrote in their report that would be me.
Any other questions?
Any other questions about anything else under OCA?
Don't see any.
All right, thank you so much.
Gina. nuisance report will be at the September 20th meeting. And so will the police report, I assume, as well.
Yes.
Okay. Moving on then to the mayor's report. Tom?
Good evening, everybody. I have no real official report. I do want to compliment, once again, DBI and Melissa and Troy for spearheading another great event in downtown Bellefonte, extended to 2 nights. I'll let Melissa give more of a report on the attendance, but the weather was wonderful and everything was organized very efficiently and effectively, and I want to commend all the volunteers who put in a lot of hours to help make this all work. So thank you from council, and thank you from the residents of Bellefonte and Center County who attended. That's it for me.
Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome.
Okay, I guess that's no. Melissa, do you want to give a quick report on Under the Lights?
What would you like to hear?
Whatever you want.
Well attended.
It was well attended. We had over 700 on Friday night and a wee bit over 600 on Saturday night. Both VIP hours were sold out, and people who took that tour absolutely loved it. I've had heard nothing but good things about the entire event, and it wasn't the most fun to plan a 2-night event, but it turned out to be an absolutely gorgeous night. So I thank everyone, especially members of council who attended. Chief helped me out big time. Finding Walker Township helped us set up and tear down, which really saved us an incredible amount of work. And the numbers aren't done yet, but I'd expect that we're going to reimburse the merchants who were there like tens of thousands of dollars. So once we have those numbers, I'll share those with council. But thank you all for attending.
Pleasure's ours.
Very good, yeah, thank everybody for the setup and tear down, because that's where a lot of the work was.
Holy moly, was it ever. It was.
Okay, moving on to my report. Since the middle of the summer, I've been attending weekly White House briefings. Most of the time, there's not much on it that I think needs to be brought back to council. But 2 weeks ago, there were 2 items. One was the White House Federal Assistance Program from renters. Last month, the Biden-Harris administration announced new measures to help protect vulnerable tenants and landlords, including Treasury Department actions to strengthen existing vulnerable tenants and landlords, with new guidance and new policies to ensure that that state and local grantees can further accelerate emergency rental assistance, or ERAs, to aid struggling landlords and the renters most at risk for eviction. At the table is background information and a copy of the letter from the Secretaries of HUD and the Treasury to governmental entities addressing this issue. I forward these items on to Barbie Watson, who handles our billing, so that she can assist people having problems paying for their utilities. So if you are having problems with your Bellefonte utilities, talk to Barbie in our office. If you're having problems paying your rent, check with the Center County Adult Services Program. The contact there is Faith Ryan at FR Ryan, R-Y-A-N, at centercountypa.gov. You can also call her at 814-355-6768. And you can also go to the Adult Services page for more information, and that's centercountypa.gov/2191/emergency-rental-assistance program for more information. Margaret Gray gave me that information this afternoon and was thanked us for putting this out in the public so that they can get our citizens can get some assistance. For those of you who are interested, there's a webinar tomorrow that will provide more details on this program. If you're interested, let me know and I'll send you the registration link that I got today. The other one was a presentation on municipal cybersecurity. I forward that information on to Ralph and Don, who are working with Link to improve our borough cybersecurity program. That's my report. Any questions? Okay, moving on. Building and property. Frank?
I have no report. We apparently had no issues, so we didn't have a meeting, so.
Okay. Any questions for Frank? Seeing none. Finance, Deb?
Okay, your packet is the 2022 minimum municipal obligation for the Bellefonte Borough pension plans and a copy of the resolution 0907-2021-01. This approval is part of the borough's obligation to approve a next year budget financial commitment for both the police and non-uniform pension programs before the end of September this year. The numbers are on track with what we expected, and they are going down slowly year to year. Again, this is money that will be budgeted for the 2022 fiscal year, so I'd like a motion to approve the resolution.
I'll second that motion.
And Ethan. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? So moved.
And the next Finance Committee meeting, which is booking up fast, is next Tuesday, September 14th at 10 a.m.
Team? Okay. Anything else?
That's it.
Any questions for Deb? Seeing none, move on to Parks and Rec.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the Elks Lodge soccer event in Governor's Park on Sunday, September 18th, starting at 1.
Motion to second. And excuse me. I'm Parsky and Abbott. Do you know when it's going to end? Did we get that information after the meeting?
I did not receive that information. If
We
Alyssa.
we can work out those details.
Okay. Any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? So moved.
The information about Bellefonte Moose, I don't think we need to do anything with that, because their event was already approved.
It was, their event was approved, but the tents were not.
I thought we decided in committee that because it was less than 12 people, then we didn't need to regulate it.
I think, the only thing I think we need is to have them come to the borough to tell us where and where they're gonna place it, is that basic detail stuff, but we don't need a motion. We can-
I'm happy to work that out. From what I understand, it's just a booth to sell tickets or ducks or whatever.
Yeah, and
So we can work out those details administratively.
okay,
Yeah.
That sounds good.
then I have nothing further.
Any questions for Melissa? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to human resources.
The only thing I know that's announced, we'll be having a meeting tomorrow at noon. Or it'll be our first human resources meeting, I think, in about 4 weeks. So.
Any questions for human resources? Seeing none, move on to safety. Randy?
The other thing I have is I'll be attending a COG meeting, a public safety meeting, next Tuesday on the 14th. That starts at 12:15.
Any questions for Randy?
Randy, we have a safety committee meeting tomorrow
That's right,
morning
I
at
missed that.
7:30.
Yes, we do.
That's the employee safety committee.
Correct.
Someone's, oh my God, just sent there because it was a blank space and rethinking it.
Just wanted to make sure you knew the new time.
Oh, yeah. Looking forward to it.
So for the public, there are 2 safety committees. There's the council safety committee, and then there is a employee
Well, workplace.
workplace safety committee. And they're talking about the workplace safety committee. if no questions, we're moving on to water refuse collection and compost facility. Doug?
Okay, I see on the, well, one water plan resolution. Council may consider action on the resolution or table action until Spring Creek Watershed Commission meets and considers a reply to the authority's letter. The letter was in our last packet. Spring Creek Watershed Commission is not scheduled to meet until October.
Actually, it's the middle of this month.
Okay.
All right. Well, I would make the recommendation to table it. I still support what was directed to me by the Bellefonte Authority to reject the idea based on many questions that were asked
Okay.
about being involved. So,
So, Doug has done a motion to table until we get a response from the Spring Creek.
Second that.
Johnson and Prendergast. Discussion?
I just have one, and to me, this resolution needs to go directly to the water authority and not to the borough. And then we'll follow the borough or the water authority's guide to that.
Actually, with the way the intergovernmental agreement with, for the Spring Creek watershed says it has to go to council, not the authorities, so that
Well,
we don't have a decision about it.
Then we'll have the same conflict we had with fluoride.
Well, I'm just thinking, I'm waiting for the response. that we
It doesn't
asked
matter,
for.
the authority, the water authority has the authority of the water. We don't direct them on how they do that. It's all the authority. They're their own entity.
that's correct.
Well, I'm not sure what the intricacies are between the intergovernmental and the water authority, so I'll have to
So,
sit here and wait, see
So-
how it shakes out.
so we have a motion to table until we get a response from the watershed commission.
He made the motion, I
And you
seconded
seconded
it.
it. All in favor of tabling, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? So moved.
Thank you. We do have a meeting tomorrow night at 6 PM here in council chambers. The public is invited. Since this was tabled, I'm sure there will be discussion about it again. And you had the daily water withdrawal report in your packet. It's around 3 million a day, approximately. That's all I have, Madam President.
Thank you. Any questions for Doug? Seeing none, moving right along. Mary for streets?
You wanna start off talking about the Railroad Street Bridge?
Oh, sure. We get, because the Center County government is involved in the funding and overseeing of the project, we do get status reports on the Railroad Street Bridge project as part of the larger bridge bid, I guess the county did. So ours is one line item in among many line items. And I know there's some emails going back and forth about some site work they're looking at, maybe tweaking things a little bit about the layout. So I think there's going to be an on-site meeting, but these status reports, there's no council action needed. They're just informational at this point in time.
Did anybody have any questions about the Railroad Street Bridge before I move on?
What's the scheduled start date?
It's not for a while yet. They're still doing like site investigations and so forth. So,
Okay.
So all of my stuff is just sort of updates on what's going on in the Streets Committee meeting. Councilmember Halderman has suggested the idea of the pedestrian crossing lights, but apparently that's something that was brought up and suggested in the past, and that PennDOT had shut down, and that we did run it past the engineers who are working with us on the project, and they confirmed that this is not something.
I just wanted to mention that I did try to call that company in Philadelphia that gave me that information, because I thought when I talked to him, he said it was PennDOT approved, but I'll still try and contact and find if it isn't, then it isn't. But I just wanted to verify with them, because I thought when I talked to me, he said this was approved, so that's why I sent it on.
Mary, I made this suggestion about a year or so ago. And I apologize to the Streets Committee, but and our borough manager, I don't recall them rejecting this. I thought it was a Harb issue that was rejecting it, no?
I don't think so.
But anyhow, if it may be worth asking the question again, if they're not uncommon, and I thought that gentleman, when we were discussing the railroad track down here at Gamble Mill, I thought was that when they rejected it, or was it for
It
down?
was just recently in one of the meetings, my understanding.
So I don't recall that rejection,
Always
but
ask
it's
again.
certainly worth asking the
Yeah,
question.
absolutely, we can double check.
Thank you.
Also regarding the changes to the diamond, we've decided to wait until after the temporary measures are put into place and people have a little bit of time to see what that is before we have the community meeting. The idea was, that was why we were doing the temporary measures, to see what the community reaction was, what works, what doesn't, what needs to change, what should stay the same. And so putting those up first and then having the meeting after seems to be the way to go. They will be put in October at this point. That's the way the time frame looks, and so we'll plan to have the meetings in November.
That would be the stakeholder, community meeting.
The community
of
meetings, yeah.
Possible changes
Right.
to the traffic pattern. 'Cause
Yeah.
ideas or.
Right, where, yes, the community can see what's up, what has happened so far, and then say, wow, we love these aspects of it, or we hate these aspects of it. These are things that we should change, these are things we should not change, and so that is the hope, is that we'll have the community see what we've put into place, the temporary measures, and then report to us on how they would like to see it in the future. Just an FYI item, the one-day parking permits for those red spaces can now be purchased online at the cost of $4 on the Bellefonte Borough website. Excuse me? Did somebody say
Say
something?
something, Tom?
Must be some feedback.
Tom said something.
No, I was just yawning.
Well, don't do
Sorry.
anything else. Don't do anything else unless you mute yourself.
Well, I want to say something when Mary's done about streets.
Okay.
So I'll wait. Please call me.
Okay. All right. Relating to the issue of the plantings in the right-of-way, we keep talking about it, and we are getting reports from what other communities do, and looking at ways to find a compromise. Certainly, nobody on the Streets Committee or on the council at large is anti-plant or anti-beautifying Bellefonte or any other thing. We would love to wave our magic wands and find a good compromise to this, and so we look forward to having you come to the Streets Committee and help us work on that. But there are safety and liability issues that we need to consider, and we keep going around and around about that. But just so that nobody thinks that we're not spending a lot of time and energy and effort into coming up with a solution to this. And then residents of Crawford Lane attended our meeting with concerns about speeding on their street. Their request was that we put in speed bumps. So in the short term, what we are doing is we are looking at increasing the number of speed limit signs. Right now, there is 1 speed limit sign in one direction and 3 in the other. So we're going to be adding 2 more speed limit signs in the direction that only had 1. We're also using the borough's new electronic sign to gather data on the amount of traffic and on the amount of speeding. And we would like to use this data eventually to come up with a set of criteria for putting in, deciding whether or not to put in speed bumps. So kind of using this as a case study moving forward.
Just to let you know, the first phase of that with the electronic timing or speed device, we had it set up for 7 days in the stealth mode, and just turned it today to the flashing mode. And so we have some pretty good numbers to share at the committee meeting.
A question. Right now, it's installed for the westbound traffic. Are you going to install it on the other side of the road and get an account for the eastbound traffic?
We will. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we will.
All right. Thank you.
And I think that is all that I have. Mayor.
Yes, I'm not sure, maybe I don't recall, but did anybody report on the survey that was done by DBI to the downtown merchants regarding the options that were put out for traffic mitigation? I thought it was a well-done survey and they had a lot of statistical data. Maybe you all didn't receive it or not. I'm not sure.
I did receive it, and I should have reported the findings here. I think.
Well, maybe just do it next week. I don't know,
absolutely.
or next meeting, unless you have it there tonight.
I don't have it in front of me, but I'll make a note to report on it next time.
Okay, thank you.
Can you include that in our packet for next time? Just so the public can get a look at it?
Say again?
Can you report?
Packet.
Include it in our packet.
Oh, yeah. I'll make sure it's in the packet and then we can discuss it next time.
Thank you.
Question, Ralph. I saw they patched up on West Curtin there. Are they done?
No.
They're gonna pave the road, is that right?
They're gonna pave the road, they're not done, that has not been scheduled yet.
Okay.
The crew that's doing the patching is not going to be doing the paving, they don't have the expertise. It has to be completely milled down, so they're trying to schedule a miller and then do the paving.
Yeah, somebody down the street asked me the other day, and I said, well, I think, as far as I know, we're gonna pave it, but I
Yes.
don't know when.
Yes.
The
It's
only other
still,
question I had, did Streets consider Mr. Bradley's request to increase from 1 hour to 2 hour parking, I think on the red zone for free?
We did
Did you guys
discuss
talk about
that in our last meeting, and I think we've decided to table it for now and come back to it in the new year.
Okay.
I think that they're still, the committee wants to still gather some more data before we start making changes.
Sure.
But it's still a possibility.
Thank you.
And so just to follow up on Buddy's comment, I was sitting outside the other day and a resident who I've not actually ever seen before walked by and said that she wanted to thank council for keeping on top of Columbia Gas to get West Curtin Street work. She said it's made it much easier with even this patchwork to get up and down the
Yeah,
street.
too bad they didn't do that 9 months ago when we were done digging.
Yeah.
So it was just a thanks to council for doing their job. And so also to Columbia Gas for taking that effort on. Okay, anything else for streets? Seeing none, moving to the energy and environment.
All right, we have some information on the ICLEI meeting. It's held on August 31st. Got a sustainability audit is nearing completion. Is there anything to add to that?
Just a real quickie, I got an email this afternoon from ICLEI saying that they thought what Don had done so far was so great that they are going to have him present to the entire cohort at the September 14th meeting about how he went about creating the audit. And this Friday at 11:15, we're meeting with State College to help us flesh out the parts of it that we didn't have in the sustainability thing, using their background, so kind of a brainstorming session. And in addition to that, since I'm mentioning it down below, that there, it mentions the Bright program. This is a program from a nonprofit that is offering to the members of this cohort a competitive grant limited to the members of the cohort for a possible $10,000 to $20,000 grant. And so we're going to be talking on Friday with Jasmine with State College Borough to see if we can come up with a joint project to put in, and the deadline for that is October 1st.
We also have a packet of information for Sun United Partnerships. It's a solar co-op organization, and I believe, Don, you talked to them last, or not Don, but Ralph.
Yes, there's some emails, I think came from one of the committees, and I was asked to reach out and find out about their membership, which is in the email that's in your packet, but I believe it's optional. I think the organization, the borough as a group, can join as well as individuals. There's different listed partnerships, or there's partnerships, there's sponsors, there's memberships, and so on. But it's there for your review and consideration.
So what we're looking at is a motion to join the Solar United Partnership Program as a partner. What this means is we would put it on our website. There's no cost to us as a partner. Then local people, businesses, and governmental agencies can join as members to get discounted installation rates should they decide to put solar energy on their properties.
What they do is they collect, they get a group rate and go out and search for competitive bids on solar installations to help reduce
So
costs.
if you have 30 members, then they start the RFP process. But they have to have a governmental aid entity to be the partner in order to move forward with this. So we need a motion to make this happen.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Clayton. Discussion?
Well, again, I'll go back to, if this is involving all residents, I think at least a public meeting would be warranted to see what the interest is in the public. Otherwise, us joining as a council doesn't really benefit them other than using us as a council. Just being that entity, that government entity.
Doesn't it help our residents by getting them a better rate on installation
Well,
of
it
solar
just-
panels?
It just means they've got access to the co-op's resources to,
I get that, but shouldn't they also be involved in a presentation, or some type of presentation to the residents, instead of just,
So as I understand it, and I don't know if this helps at all, is if we become a partner, then the co-op will, and we would advertise it however they would do it, and members become, people who join up as members become the deciding body about what to move forward with on the thing. Once they have 30 members within a partnership, they then can move forward and get the possible discounts.
so if 30 people don't show up, then there's no benefit.
I understand
If every-
that, I understand that.
They-
I'm not trying to drag this out, I was just wondering, I mean, because we're making decisions like this just for our residents, and all I've seen on it is the membership and what we're talking about here now. So, so if we get involved with this, can I have solar on my roof within a month, 2 months? How long's it gonna
Yeah.
That
take?
would be,
You know, we don't, this is the stuff that we get into, and we don't talk about the finance, we don't talk about the
This-
time.
we
It's
don't
just,
have
let's
to-
just do this because it's good for our residents.
we don't do
But
any.
nothing happens.
We don't do any of the financing. It's, what they do is, like, if you signed up and John signed up and Doug signed up and I signed up and we had 30 people that signed up, they would go to the installers and get a group rate and then have everybody's house
Analyzed.
and the ones that can use solar would get it, and you have the group rate. It's just, all they would do would be advertise for people to sign up. What we're doing is giving them the opportunity to get involved with it.
So it doesn't serve all residents then?
It would if
Anybody
they,
who.
Well, it won't because not everybody's gonna fit the mold.
because what?
Correct.
Not everybody's gonna fit that mold of having solar.
No, that's true, but then you only need 30 people to get the rate. And it doesn't, what we're doing with this proposal is just giving people the opportunity to sign up with the co-op. It doesn't cost us anything, it doesn't cost residents anything, it gives them an opportunity.
And if you don't want to do it, Bellefonte alone, State College is doing that, and I did get an email saying, if we don't want to do it on our own, we could join in with the COG and join their thing, but it's up to you all.
Can I just call a question?
Yes, you can. Got to call on the question. Is there any more comments? Seeing none, we have a motion for Bellefonte Borough to create a Solar United Partnership Program. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? I did not see Buddy vote.
No.
Okay, 2 noes. 2 noes, Brackbill and Calder.
So are we going, is council going to create this committee, or who?
No, I don't,
No, we
No.
notified them and they work with us to put something on our website and then they move it from there. We don't have,
they just advertise.
How many are
To
on the
get-
committee? I'm just curious, now I'm asking the questions.
There's,
Are they
I don't know
borough
if they're-
residents on the committee, or are they just at-large people, or just, I'm just.
Every-
the co-op is made up of members who sign up once the advertising starts. So
It's
we're
like
the
it's like a
partners
farm
allowing this
co-op.
to
Okay.
happen.
It says online here, they operate 289 solar co-ops across the USA.
Okay.
I don't think there's an actual committee.
Okay. So Ralph, if you can notify them that
Yes.
we said yes.
Yes, I'll do that.
Okay.
And the Bright program was already mentioned. It's a possibility for grants, competitive grants. I don't really have a whole lot of information on that, Joanne.
We won't have it until Friday.
Okay.
I sent out an
That-
email this
Yeah,
afternoon.
I asked you what time we meeting.
Okay. Anything else for energy and environment?
No, nothing I have.
Seeing none, moving on to special committee reports. Does anyone have any?
I have a Nittany Valley Joint Planning Committee meeting on Tuesday, 9/14, from 6 PM to 8 PM. It's held at Benner Township this month. That's all I have.
Any questions? Any other special committee reports? Okay, moving on then, Borough Manager.
My report will be given at the next council meeting on the 20th.
Okay. Old business, we already discussed, the facilitator stakeholder meeting. Is there any other old business anyone knows of?
I guess this might, I'll keep it from you.
Okay. Moving on to new business then, policing and community Communities of Color Task Force report. Ralph, do you want to talk about this?
This is just a notice that at the next council meeting, we're going to have a presentation in the work session on this task force report that was generated. We have Chief Weaver with us, but he participated on the task force. And, the culminating report is available. We'll have it in the packet that goes out for the meeting on the 20th. And a person who was involved with the committee will have a presentation in the work session about 20 minutes long, and then there'll be some time for questions and answers. And I think they're looking at a following phase or where to go from here. So that's, we just want you to know that's on the schedule.
Okay, any questions? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next item.
Next item is just, just making sure we're all caught up. Of course, we've seen other municipalities adopting masking indoors mandate. Center County government has been designated as a high transmission county, and by the CDC. The CDC recommends wearing masks indoors, and council, we have a note here, the council might consider taking action to require masks wearing in the council chambers or the borough building, with some exceptions, and these are pretty common exceptions. If you're in your own workspace, or if you're not going to be in contact with others, social distancing and all that, there would be an exception to wearing a mask indoors.
Do we have a motion to that effect?
I'll make the motion, Carolyn.
Eden, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Have it. Discussion.
Well, I made the motion because
I have a lot of faith in the wisdom of the wisdom and knowledge of the people at the CDC, and I think I'm going to follow their recommendations. And I suggest that we do that, and also possibly just to be a good example for the rest of the community. So I know that's not my job, but I think it's prudent in these times of elevated risk.
Other comments?
I've been wearing a mask this whole meeting and I'm not bothered by it, so.
And the only reason I'm not wearing it is because I forgot.
Okay. Other comments, questions?
Mayor's turn.
Go
I
ahead.
have a comment. I would just like to, if we are required to wear masks in the council chamber, if we still will maintain the video or Zoom option.
Yes.
All right, very good. Thank you.
What you see here was brought to us by CNET. It is called an OWL. OWL, that thing right there. It has.
Aptly named.
It has, as you've noticed this evening, has a great speaker. We can hear everybody in the room. People on Zoom can hear us. People in the room can hear us.
I can hear Randy's chair every time it moves.
I don't know how you know it's mine, because they all do that.
Well, I know, but I was watching you. Yeah, it's quite loud. You can hear all my little hops and puffs as well.
So,
the only thing that is a little troubling is hearing some people's voices that have masks on. So I would just ask that if you are going to wear a mask and speak, you speak slowly and clearly and loudly. I don't even know if that's a word.
yes, it is. Very good.
All right, well,
So, and we will be continue the hybrid.
I'm having a little trouble hearing a couple people in the room with masks on, so let's just keep that in mind in the future.
So the plan is to, when Ralph and I talked last week, is to use this OWL for all the council meetings, look into purchasing one of these things for the borough itself, because we can't take it from CNET, because they use it at other meetings that they air. And then we could actually be able to hold hybrid meetings with all of our boards ABCs so people can choose how they best want to attend the meetings.
I would just add, you know, in order for council to operate, we gotta have 5 members in the room unless the state legislators change that. But once the emergency declaration ran out, we could no longer have everybody virtual. You have to have a minimum, or you have to have a quorum in the room. So as long as we have 5 in the room, we're good.
So, any other comments or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of this motion, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? So moved. Thank you all. Okay, I don't see any more new business.
I had one.
Okay,
The ad hoc committee meeting got taken away from us a little bit because we went into talking about the survey at the streets committee, or I'm sorry, for the agreement or the awards that we were looking at. And we need to reschedule that. And along with that, something else I've been thinking of for quite a while is I'd like the ad hoc committee, and that would be Joanne, myself, and Doug. I'm interested in looking at a 2-year term for president, vice president, and pro tem, because we're all equal. When we're elected to these seats, we're all equal. And everybody should have an opportunity to serve those offices. And how we can lay it out, I think we just meet and talk about it a little bit and see what we can come up with. Because there's a lot of smart people at these tables, and I think everybody deserves a shot at it. And by having it on a rotation basis might be the best way to do that.
I have a comment to that is, I know other townships locally have a system in place that rotates the chair. And of course, if that rotation occurs and that person declines, it goes to the next person. So I think it's a good idea.
we can look at that. So can you do a doodle?
Yes.
Okay. So if that didn't require any action, we didn't have to add that to the agenda at the
That's
beginning of the
correct.
meeting. Okay, anything else? Okay,
For,
new business.
okay, just checking.
Okay, in that case, we're now open up for public comment for anything that was not on our agenda. Is there any such public comment?
I want to recognize some staff members who are, some are usually here and some are not here. We have Julie Brooks, our Assistant Superintendent at the treatment plant. I know it's dark back there, sorry
Can you
about
come up
that.
so people can see your face?
Okay.
Thank you.
We actually have quite a few staff, so I definitely wanted to recognize Julie. Do you have any questions? I know that we have open invitation to you. Do you have any questions while you're here, or anything we're doing? We're happy to have you. You're welcome anytime, either in person or by Zoom. You're welcome anytime. Sure. Of course, we have Chief Weaver, has spoken a few times. We have Mr. Brooks, Harry Brooks. You guys aren't related at all, but you're.
I have no idea.
I don't know. Wasn't planned that way. Of course, earlier Gina Thompson was here, our hard planning zoning administrator. Dawn's here. So we have just a couple extra bodies of staff members, so I wanted to recognize them. So thank you for letting me do that.
Seeing no other public comment, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I'll second.
Brackbill and Prendergast? Seeing no opposition, we are adjourned at 9:01 PM.
Right.